British Spy Stories, Season 2, The Kill Order. Episode 22. The morning sunshine filtered through the expensive curtains of room 132 of the Biltmore Hotel in central London is hazy against the outside of Ella's eyelids. As she wakes, for a second or two her brain has forgotten where she is. Then gradually it seeps back into her consciousness, and she remembers Sir Bernard booking her into a room last night, and a housekeeper arriving with pyjamas for her. The telephone on the nightstand next to her starts to ring, and she picks up the handset. It's Sir Bernard saying he's going down to breakfast, and if she wants to join him, then please do. As Ella walks into the dining room, there are a smattering of well-heeled guests speaking softly over their food. Sir Bernard is at the same table as last night, and she walks over and sits on one of the 3 chairs around it. After an initial chat about her state of mind, then sorting out tea or coffee with the waitress, Ella collects croissants from the sideboard and brings them back to the table. Do you feel up to telling me about the events of the last couple of days? She is ready to talk now, and Ella goes through everything from Stefan's staring eyes to the grey drabness of the police cell. What do we know about Stefan? He says.
He's,
She stalls.
Was a member of the Moldovan Security Service.
When did you know what he did for a living?
A week ago.
Tell me the story right from the beginning. How did you first meet him? Where did you go together? What did you say to each other?
She tells Sir Bernard every last detail. Things that seemed innocuous at the time, or little nuances in Stefan's behaviour. Sir Bernard sits patiently listening. The other diners finish their meals and eventually leave the room until just the 2 of them are left. There's one bit I haven't talked about, she says. He looks expectant. Marjorie Allardyce.
Go on.
You know her?
I do.
She told me not to send in the 3p. I know I had delayed it myself, but then she found out and told me not to send it in as it would all look suspicious.
And did she ask for anything in return for your silence?
Yes.
Ella can feel her heart in her mouth.
She wanted names of Moldovan agents.
And you passed those to her? He says.
Ella nods. Sir Bernard is silent. His eyes move from her face to the window, and he watches how the sun is bouncing off the patio outside.
Ella,
he says eventually.
I think you can help me with something. Something that's big. Something we should have done a couple of years ago.
What is it?
I need to get your security level raised first, he says. You must be at secret, is that right? You'll need to be top secret plus. Is there somewhere you can go for a few days? Somewhere out of town?
I've got a cousin in Yorkshire.
Go there. Disappear. Switch off your phone before you leave London. Don't make any calls. Don't log into Oberon.
What about my team? They'll wonder where I am.
I'll handle all of that.
Am I in danger, sir?
She says, searching his eyes for the truth. You just need to get away. Call me in 2 days from a public phone box. But use the call divert location procedure. You know how to do that?
She nods.
By then I can update you on what we're going to do.
It only takes 15 minutes by cab from the airport to 32A Overgarten Ovenvandit. Laravel stands in the road as the taxi drives off down the side street. She throws her bag over one shoulder and walks to the safe house. There are several cuts on her face from the beating in Berlin, and she can feel bruising on her stomach. She had struggled home after being left on the pavement, and then slept for 14 hours. But she had felt relatively okay the next day, thanks to her fitness. Laravel tries the door to the flat, but it's locked. So she pulls her skeleton keys from a pocket in her bag, checks to see no one is close by, then drops to her haunches and inserts 2 metal prongs into the lock. She makes 2 swift turns and the latch clicks open, then pushes the door and slips inside. There's a hallway in front of her and a set of wooden stairs. She treads lightly as she goes up, not knowing the layout or whether Carling is there. At the top of the stairs there are 4 doors, all closed. She tiptoes to each, leaning in to listen to see if she can hear any sounds of human life. But Laravel hears nothing. She opens one door, and it's a vacant bedroom. This could have been where Morrison slept. The next door reveals a messy lounge with a kitchen area to one end. Dishes lay in the sink, newspapers are strewn on the sofa, and a small dining table sits under the window. The third door has a bathroom beyond it. She turns the handle of the final door. Inside, the curtains are still closed, but there's enough light for her to see a double bed and clothes on the floor. Laravel approaches the bed. Carling is laying to one side, with his arm around a blonde woman, who is nestled into his body. Laravel grabs hold of the corner of the duvet, and in one movement pulls the cover off the couple. They wake from the rush of cold air on their skin. "Going to introduce me, Francis?" she says loudly. Carling and Freya both look shocked. "Hi," she says to Freya. "I'm his sister. Pleased to meet you." The March air rises, following the slope up from the Thames and onto the Victoria embankment that forms the north shore of the river through this section of London. Marjorie buttons up her coat and looks for a more sheltered spot to make a telephone call. There is nowhere near the river, so she takes a turning up the hill and into the matrix of roads that lead up to Fleet Street and Chancery Lane. She finds a doorway that is sheltered from the wind and lodges herself out of sight, then pulls out her mobile phone. Marjorie dials a number and holds the device to her ear. The noise of the breeze across the phone makes it difficult to hear ringing down the line. But it eventually stops and a man's voice answers. Marjorie speaks with haste, in short, sharp sentences that reveal her stress. It's unlike her to feel the pressure of spying. But this set of circumstances has got to her, and she doesn't like it. She explains to the man about the events surrounding the successful collection of Moldovan security data. Marjorie goes on to talk about her concerns that the source of the data has now gone to ground. She's absent from her home, her office, and her other haunts where they know she likes to go. It's understandable, as she'll be mourning her boyfriend. But she's not answering any calls, and the tracker that Marjorie added to her phone hasn't moved from the MI6 building in Vauxhall Cross for several days. It's looking like a professional disappearance. This is not just some girl deciding to go on holiday. The man explains what needs to be done, and Marjorie pushes back on the ideas, much to the man's frustration. He gets heated at the other end of the phone, telling her that she needs to respect the organisation and his authority. But that just makes her more determined to avoid what she believes is an idiotic way forward. The weight of the conversation sways in one direction and then the other. Gradually, Marjorie's view starts to gain the upper hand, and finally the man agrees that they'll follow the plan that she has suggested. After half an hour, the call ends and Marjorie puts her phone inside the pocket of her Macintosh. She walks back down towards the water, turns right along the embankment, and heads off in the direction of Thames House. Carling and Laravel are sitting in the lounge with cups of coffee, and Freya has gone to work on the night shift. "Why the bloody drama earlier?" he says. Because I've been sent to give you a kick up the arse? About what? A missing professor, maybe? Laravel opens her eyes wide and stares at him. Oh, that. Yeah, a Category A asset. And the one you were looking after. He just bloody walked out. What did you say to him? So he just walked out and you can't find him? And what have you done to trace him? Investigations branch looks into it. Found nothing, says Carling. He's just disappeared. Bollocks he did, she says. Why are you still even here? London told me to stay in case Morrison turns up. That has got to be the most pathetic thing I've ever heard. It's not my fault, he says. Oh, Christ. Look, there's a comms room here, is there? To the bathroom. And that has Oberon's secure access? Of course. And have you used our data to track Morrison? Carling shakes his head. Laravel walks out and goes into the bathroom. She stands in front of what appears to be an airing cupboard, but a combination of numbers pressed into a keypad to one side opens a section of the wall and reveals an MI6 comms room inside. She sits down on the swivel chair, flicks all of the power switches on, and watches the security routiners go through their process. She types in various passwords as they are requested, and arrives at the MI6 homepage, then goes into the Oberon search array. That will allow her to track an asset. Laravel searches against name, age, last known location and associated addresses, then hits enter. She scrolls through the matches and the near matches. Then she sees it. Morrison had used a card to buy lunch in a cafe outside Hamburg station 2 days ago. She goes to the CCTV data pool in Oberon and pulls up Hamburg station at the arrival time. She loads in a photo of Morrison, then runs facial recognition. The software purrs through thousands of images, and Laravel watches the flashing pictures in front of her. She stands up and lets the software do its thing. The screens stop every minute or so, with an image that is close to the picture, but they're not Morrison. After several minutes, the pictures stop rotating and the screen goes black. Laravel waits, not knowing if the scan has stopped and found nothing. Then the black flickers into a rolling video. High up on the side of a building, grainy at first. Then the blur clears. There is Morrison, walking out of Hamburg station and hailing a cab. The video freezes on the last matched frame as the professor steps into the cab. She grabs a mouse and manipulates the image until it fills the biggest screen, which covers half of the end wall of the comms room. She enlarges it further and zooms down to the car's number plate. The numbers are grainy, but readable. Gotcha, she says to herself.